Hi there, my name is Donna Woolham, and I am the founder and CEO of Living at My Best, which is a work from home site for women of faith. And my goal is to always just help women have the life that they were meant to live, filled with purpose and passion. And today I am thrilled to have as our guest on Success and the Female Entrepreneur, Leanna George, who I met through social media. I love that. Social media so rocks. So hi, hun, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. It's awesome. You're right. We met virtually and hit it off, and it's been great.
Virtually really has a different message now, doesn't it? You see, literally and virtually used to kind of be the same thing, and now virtually is entirely a different world.
Yes, you're right. It is, but it's great.
So would you just, as we get started today, would you tell us a little bit about you? And then we're going to just ask you a ton of questions about how to live a more organized life. So if you'll just tell us who you are and where you live and just a little bit about you, that'd be awesome.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. So I am a wife and a mother of two. I have two girls, and I'm a professional organizer. I own my own organizing business. It's called By George Organizing Solutions. And basically, I just work with people who have realized and value the importance of living organized lifestyles. And maybe they're overwhelmed by the clutter and the chaos in their lives. And so what I try to do is work with them to see, how organized lifestyles can make a difference. And then, go through the process of decluttering and purging and setting up systems so that they can, have the life that they long for. So that's, what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm also a speaker and a teacher and a writer. So those are some things I'm really hoping to share more with in the organizing field. And then I live in Houston, so I forgot to tell you I'm in the Houston area. And so when I'm not doing organizing stuff or family things, you can find me on the tennis courts or reading a good book.
That's awesome. On the tennis courts.
Yes.
I grew up playing softball, and so every time I played tennis, I played it like I was hitting for the fence. It never was a good thing for me, Lynn. It was not safe to play tennis around me. I don't know if I'd be any different now, but I always wanted to be one of those tennis girls. So if I ever get down to Houston or you ever get to Fort Worth, maybe you can give me a few tips and pointers. How about that?
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a date.
Okay, I think that sounds fun. That sounds fun. So you are a professional organizer.
Oh,
I
you froze
want
up
to
on
ask
me.
a kid, and did you just really always work in that direction, or is that something that happened as you got older?
I think I've always been organized. I think it's been something that I have just naturally, had a knack for.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something I've always, kept my room clean, kept my room, if I see something out of order or kind of cluttered, I want to get my hands on it. It doesn't matter if it's a bookshelf or an entire room or a closet. That's just something I'm very passionate about. But that doesn't mean that I can't, or that you can't, or others can't be organized. So a lot of times people find that intimidating. When people ask me, oh, have you always been organized? Because I can never be organized like you can be. I tell them, I may be a little bit more passionate about it, but you definitely have a skill as well for it and a knack. You just have to learn how to strengthen it and develop it and flex it.
Oh, I just love that. And it's so funny. When we chatted the other day, we talked about the scariness of my office and my place. And I have to tell you, this morning, as I was getting ready for the blab, I just was organizing my desk and getting things put away. So even just being in your space and being around you inspires me to do a little bit better of a job. But I just thank you for saying that it is something that all of us have inside of us. And I'm guessing that you help people find their best way of keeping track of things and helping it, that there are systems in that you have, and we'll talk about those, but that you help a person find the way that makes sense for them. It seems like what I hear from you in that is that it's already inside of you. You just have to figure out how to get it out onto the tabletop.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like me with exercising. I don't like going to the gym. I don't like, walking around my block 10 times.
Right.
I love playing tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's got their way of doing things that they find more enjoyable. And
Mm-hmm.
when they find it more enjoyable, when they find it easier and something they like, they're going to stick with it more. And so that's what I really want to emphasize with people about organizing. It's not one size fits all. It doesn't, your organizing isn't going to look like my organizing. Even my kids, they don't organize the same, even though I've raised them, and everything. They have totally different styles from each other and from me. That's because, we're each created uniquely, and so God knew what he was doing when he created us. And so we just have to find those things that sync with us to make it work. And once you do, then it just kind of is easier to manage and easier to do.
Today, to help us a little bit and tell us why, because it's obviously a passion of yours. I mean, you have a company built around organization. It's a passion for you. It's not just something you do on Saturday afternoon with nothing else to do. So why does it matter that we're organized?
Well, it's several reasons. You can look at it in different levels. From a physical reason, your physical space, there's just more peace and there's more calm in your life when you have outer order, it's within. So it just makes your life easier to manage. On an emotional level, you're not so overstressed. You're not so overwhelmed. You just have this peace about you because you know where to find things. You know that when you're ready to go out the door, it's right there and you don't have to worry about that. So, they're on an emotional level, there's so many different things. On a relational level, I think it's really important too. When we have that order, it allows the relationships within our home to function better. And I think it allows the relationships we have with others. A lot of people don't want to invite others to their house because it's a mess. It's chaotic. And so that really limits and hinders your friendships and your relationships on the outside as well. And then I think on a spiritual level, that God is a God of order and he calls us to be his representatives in this world. We reflect who he is when we're living a life of order as well. And so I think in just so many levels, it just has an impact on our life when we're organized.
I just love that. I love all of that, how you've got that all put together. And I can tell you that there have been times that in my life where I would have, because of the way things were. But when I grew up, my mom was a person you got up every day and straightened things up. And on Saturday was clean house day and you were ready. And as a mom, whenever I was raising two active boys, a year and a half apart, wow, I just remember those days. But as I was teaching them, I taught them at least we had to have everything clean and organized in the front part of the house and put it all, in the closet. So I bet you're a great closet organizer too, for those of us who shove all of our stuff in the closet. So what are some struggles you work with people and help them create these organized spaces and bring order. What are some of the struggles that you think that you've observed that we have in becoming more organized?
Well, that's a great question. And I just sent out an email last week to my newsletter and I asked them, just tell me what's your biggest struggle? What's the one thing that you find is the biggest obstacle in your efforts to get organized? And the number one answer was time.
Wow.
Time to get organized is a big issue for people. We just live in such busy lives right now. We've got sporting events and school things, and we've got work, and we've got, just time with our families. And so things just start piling up, and it's hard. Once it gets so overwhelming, it just gets hard to find the time to work on it. So time is a big issue for people, just making the time and doing it. And it takes time to do that. There are a lot of times when I don't get to watch TV or go do things, because I've chosen to, develop habits in my life that will allow me to stay organized. So I have to, it's a give and take kind of thing. But time is a big issue for people. Staying organized was the second biggest answer. That's the other thing. It's not a one-time event. You don't just organize and then it just stays that way. And it doesn't just happen with a wave of a wand either. You really have to put forth the continual efforts to stay organized. So that's a big thing. I think knowledge is another one. sometimes people just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They don't know, what is the best system to set this up, or what are the best resources or products. So just, a knowledge base, I think is another issue. And then sometimes I think it's just themselves, ourselves. We can be our own barrier. We just either with our thinking, I don't think I can be organized. I don't think I can afford to get organized. I don't have the time to get organized. So we train our mind that we can't accomplish this.
Oh.
And so we stay in our own way. And so we just kind of have to rethink sometimes our mindset and our attitudes and realize that if we can just make a little shift, we can make big changes in our lives.
Well, and that to me, the more I talk to people, it just seems like in every area of our life, no matter what it is, mindset is the number one thing we have to attack and to tear down those wrong beliefs that we can't do XYZ, whatever that is. In my world, and it's about kind of organizing your business life and your home life and getting that in balance and order so that you can have a more peaceful life world. And you're telling us the same thing, is you can get in your own way. And I can believe that entirely, that it's a mindset, because that place of overwhelm, because things have gotten so out of control, can just stop you, or feeling like there has to be a right way. And if you don't do it the right way, then why try at all? So I really thank you for the freedom that you're giving us to understand that this isn't just something we battle. There's probably some sort of organization you could create, like recovery for perpetually unorganized people, because it's an ongoing process. So what do you say to someone who can never be organized, that they just fight that all the time, that it just seems like no matter what they do and no matter their best intentions, that things are just in chaos? What do you say to someone like that?
I just tell them that it is possible. You just have to find what works for you. And you have to just start small. I mean, probably if their entire life is in chaos, we're not going to fix it all. We just need to focus on one thing, and then get that going really well, because that will give them the motivation to get to the next thing.
Oh.
And that will also, give them that sense of accomplishment. Like, hey, I can do this. I can be organized. It may just be this, small surface space on my kitchen counter, or maybe just a small space on my desk. But if I can keep this organized, what else can I keep organized?
Oh, wow.
So, I always just tell people the power of small when it comes to organizing is huge. And so really try to think of a small thing, because you may not get your whole life organized. I mean, I don't have my whole life organized, but, I do have some areas that I really am pretty organized in. And so that's what I just try to tell people, because I truly believe everybody can be organized. I really do feel that way. It's just, like I said, finding out what works for you, how you work, and finding that one little space and conquering it first, and staying with it, and then moving on. Everybody wants to do their whole house, and it's like, chasing after rabbits. You're just not going to catch them all. And so we have to focus just and get that zoned in a little bit.
Oh, that's so smart. And just for those of you who are listening, if you have questions, be sure and put that question in the box. We'll be glad to answer that. Leanna's got a lot of wisdom and insight for us today. So if you have a particular question that you want answered, be sure and ask that. Put it in the message box. And what is a quick tip? I mean, here we are. This is being recorded right before Christmas. I mean, we are in full-blown get it done mode, most of us, or some people are just in get it started mode. What is a quick tip maybe for organizing your Christmas cards or your Christmas wrap or anything like that you could give us, something that somebody could do as soon as they got off of this today that might make their life a little more peaceful?
A little bit more peaceful. Well, the thing about like Christmas cards is that it really needs to be broken down into steps. I mean, people try to do everything all at once. And I'm like, if you will break it down into simple steps, you make that much more manageable. We see the large task of getting the photos and getting them on the cards or signing all the cards and finding all the address labels. And it becomes a 10-step process
Mm-hmm.
and we get overwhelmed by it. So my tip would be, if you're looking at something large, whether it's, your grocery list, your meal planning, your cooking, your baking, try to break those down into smaller, more manageable tasks, because then it won't be so overwhelming. If you can just get the first task of picking out the picture for your photo, that you're going to include, you're going to put on the card, that makes it a lot easier, to get going than looking at the 10 things that have to do. So that would be my first step. When it comes to wrapping gifts, I'd say just make sure you have everything you need on hand. Make sure you've got all the scissors, the tape, because there's nothing more frustrating to sit down and then realize I don't have enough tape, and it's in another room where you have to go search for it,
or go to the store.
Or go to the store. So make sure you do an inventory before you go. And then my last tip for people, because I was going to send this out next week, was make space right now for what's coming in.
Oh,
because you're going to get a lot of stuff in the next 10 days, and you're going to go, where am I going to put all this? Because I don't have any more space for what I already own, and now I got to go add more. So, take some time, maybe just 30, 40 minutes to clean out your spaces, your closet, or, a drawer. If you know that you've asked for something and you're going to be getting it soon, then, go ahead and make space and figure out where you're going to put it now, so that on the 26th, you're not in overwhelm.
Yeah. And one of the things that I know that we used to do a lot with my boys when they were little is that they would go through all of their toys before Christmas and kind of clean out those things that weren't so important to them. And we would give them to like a place like Goodwill or someplace like that, or give them to charity and give them a way to kind of clean out and make a space and to do a little bit of service at the same time. And so that was always really a helpful thing for me. But I love that even as adults, we need to be thinking about that. Just a little side note, since we moved from our home a few years ago, one of the things that I've missed is having a treadmill, because I like to run. That's something that I've loved to do. And so yesterday when I got up, my husband said, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a treadmill for Christmas." So we had to do all kinds of moving yesterday in order to make space for that. So I'm glad he didn't surprise me with that on Christmas morning I had to find a place for it. So that's a good point. Make room now for the things that are coming up.
Absolutely.
So if you are a person like me, I think that in my heart, I so want to be an organized person. I really do. I like to be able to put my hands on things whenever I want them. I know that I waste so much time looking for important things, and I will begin a process and then it falls apart, and then I'm digging through boxes or looking through shelves or those kind of things. I mean, I really do want to be, and I attempt that. So what's some help for me, for this poor woman who's struggling in that area, who really wants to be a more organized person? What can I do?
Well, I think, a lot of people like the idea of being organized. They look at the pictures on Pinterest, they look in the magazines, and they're like, oh yeah, I would love to have my space look like that. And I would love to have that in my life. And I think that's great. But, the reality is none of our homes look like Pinterest all the time, and they don't look like the magazine spread either. So I think sometimes we have to first, get, checked in with reality and ask ourselves, what can we really do? Because sometimes it's just not feasible. But once you get the commitment, I think is what it is. We like the idea, but what we really need is commitment. So I think, first is making that commitment and, having an idea and a goal of what you want to do to be organized. And then once you have that clear, that's going to motivate you to really do the work and put in the time. Because like I said, those are the big issues, knowing what to do, actually having the time and then doing the work. So I think if you could get a handle on those things, then you could take the steps necessary to get organized.
What kind of things that can people find on your website, Leanna, that will help them? We'll give your website link here in just a little bit, but what kind of tools or resources or training do you have available right now that people can get to?
Well, I have my blog, which I write on weekly, and
Mm-hmm.
that's always some source of encouragement, or it's a process of how to do something, how to organize a junk drawer, how to organize a closet. Um, so it's always something like that, or a product, that I think that you could probably use. It would work well for a space. So that's going to be my biggest resource right now. But I'm excited because and next year I will be adding a product area, like a training area,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to be offering like about 45-minute to an hour long recordings of different areas of your home that you can, I'm going to walk you, kind of train you through. I did this all
Wow.
last year as training classes here in my area. And we did kitchens, we looked at closets, the garage, the entryway, we looked at paperwork. So what I'm going to do is go through, and now I'm going to re-record all of those. And then, try to have that available for people to have as well. So they can go through in about 45 minutes and just kind of get some basics that will hopefully help them in those specific areas in their homes.
Awesome. Awesome. And Danielle is saying that she's add that organizing task to her daily or weekly to-do list that helps her stay on track. So that's a great thing. Just add an organizing point. That's super smart. Super
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have ever thought of that. So I'm glad that's an incredible thing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when we schedule appointments for ourselves. Everybody in the productivity scene will tell you, if you want to get something done, schedule it. Make an appointment with yourself to schedule it. And it's the same way with organizing. If you schedule that you're going to set aside 30 minutes, an hour to organize your office, and you set it aside, and you honor it as a sacred time to do that, then the task will get done. So I think if we are intentional and purposeful, it'll make a difference in having the organized life we want.
I like that it is a sacred time and it is intentional and purposeful, because I know that your heart really, with everything in you, you believe that organization is a spiritual process as well. It's not just something to throw on to the side of, oh, well, I probably should organize that drawer. It is a process. And you mentioned a little bit about that, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to just say anything else you'd like to in that realm about how it can help us.
Right. Well, like I said, it came to me a few years ago that, when you look at the beginning of Scripture, God has laid out his creation with an orderly process. Everything came in about. It just wasn't like he just scattered everything and it was a mess and it came about. There was complete order. And I think that there was a reason for that, because it was reflective of who he is. And he wants that for us as well. And it's not something that I think he is like, you have to be orderly or else you're sinning or you're not a good, child of God or anything like that. It's just something that he knows will benefit us in our ability to live the life of peace that we're supposed to have, and as well as to be servants and impact the world with the message and the service that he has for us. It's really hard to be able to be fully serving him when we're so scattered and chaotic in our lives, whether it's in our minds, in our physical spaces, or whatever it is. So I really feel like that he's very strong, that's a very strong thing that we need to be doing as Christians and walking in faith.
And that just makes so much sense to me. Whenever I think about it in that term, it just makes so much sense to me that it is a spiritual process, because there is just so much peace in the order of things, even if there's a lot going on around you, because we are busy people. We're busy women. We have lots of families. You mentioned that earlier. And to be able to have some sort of peace and order about that is so powerful. So powerful. And in our conversation the other day, it really made me think about things in a different way. So I appreciate that. I like people who challenge me to think about something that I would take for granted and put that into a different kind of realm and a different space. And so I appreciate that about your messaging.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I think, it's just something, that a lot of people don't hear about. I mean, it's not like I've ever gone to a church service on Sunday morning and heard the preacher, talking about or preaching about, lives of order. It's just not something we think about. But I really think it's something we need to, consider
Mm-hmm.
and explore
Mm-hmm.
and look at. And so that's something I'm working on for 2016 as well, is to really be looking at, what is scripture telling us about leading an organized lifestyle? And, because it's in there, we just have to mine it out and see it for ourselves.
And I think too, it's like Danielle mentioned over in the comment box about having that in your list, to be able to ask yourself that question on a daily basis is, where do I need to pay attention to some organization in different places in my life? And as you mentioned, having that scheduled and having that as part of, if things are out of order and out of chaos, how is that affecting me in my physical self and in my emotional self? As you mentioned, in your relationships, there's a lot more to it than just being able to put your hands on the red pen if you want a red pen.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really does. And I just think that, in a spiritual sense, we're supposed to have a life. He came to give us life and give it to the fullest.
Mm-hmm.
And, to have the peace and the joy. And I see so many times when I work with people that it's just not there,
Right.
It's missing. And it's just over and over and over that I see this. And it makes me sad. I really hurt for people because I know that there could be so much more to their lives if we would just clear out some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
if we would let go of things. But we're so, tied to the things of this world sometimes. It's hard to see that.
So also, I know that because you're an organization expert, do you have any kind of general numbers about the hours of productivity we can lose just by looking for that envelope or that folder? Are there any statistics on that? We didn't talk about this, so I'm kind of throwing you under the bus there. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know that we do. We lose a lot of time each week. We lose time looking for lost keys. I think the statistic was, like 45 minutes looking for lost keys. Think about what you can do in 45 minutes.
Golly.
It just never seems to astound me but we lose hours, we lose minutes, just precious time. And time is the one thing we can't get back.
Right.
And so it's so frustrating when you can't find something and what could I have accomplished? What else could I have done with my kids, with my time, with my work, with my friends, if I hadn't been looking for keys or looking for a matching shoe or, something like that.
Did you hang out at my house today? What the heck? So I'm thinking about this about keys, and I told you that I have in my heart this place where I still want to be organized. So I bought a ring and put it inside my purse, and it has like one of those stretchy key cord things on it.
Yeah.
And it has a little place where I can hook my car keys to. So
Mm-hmm.
I have that, and I have that full intention, and I take my keys out, and I use them for whatever, and then I throw them in the bottom of my purse and don't hook them onto my little stretchy cord. So I'm still searching in the bottom of my purse for my keys. It's just one of those crazy things. And every time that happens, I say, Donna, you have a plan for this. You need to be more disciplined and work on that. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but I'm working in the right direction, right, Leanne? I'm working in the right direction.
That's a perfect example of, sometimes you think you have got something that's going to get you on the path to organization. And, you have to try it out, and you might find that may just not work for you. And it's okay. You've got to just kind of keep trying until you find the thing that does.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will just go, that's it. I'm a hopeless case. I'll never be organized. And they just forget it. And I just tell people, no, you tried. Obviously, that's not the thing for you. Try something else.
Yeah. And Danielle's saying sometimes she won't even try to look for it when the paperwork is a mess, and it thought of it can be too overwhelming. So is there a quick, because she's a virtual administrative assistant, and so I'm sure she has a lot of things on her plate. And Danielle would be glad to open a seat if you want to come on. Is that something you'd like to do, or would you just like to ask a question? I'll unlock the seat. So if you want to come in and speak to Leanna personally, just click on that. We'll open that up for you if you'd rather just ask a question. But Leanna, what, 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 What's an easy, just questions, please? You betcha. That's great. So, what is a tip that you could give her to help her kind of rein in that monster of paper that's maybe sitting on her desk right now saying, you'll never get it done?
Well, I know Danielle personally. She is a good friend of mine. So I'm glad she's here today, encouraging and supporting me when I do this.
Awesome.
So I do know her desk. And so what I told Danielle was, and I tell this to a lot of people, especially when it comes to your desk and your paperwork, go vertical. A lot of people will, make horizontal piles, and then what's on the bottom gets lost and forgotten about.
Yeah.
So what I told Danielle and what I've told lots of other people is try to go vertical and have some kind of, like a paper file sorter so that you can see, those papers on a regular basis, because vertical is so much better. Those horizontal piles just get piled up, and then it becomes too much. So that's one of my biggest recommendations for paperwork on a desk.
I'm gonna hide that over there. And I have 2 horizontal files.
Mm-hmm.
They're little file folders, one for business, one for personal, and they're both. You're exactly right on that. So today when I go out to the store, I'll find myself a vertical organizer. And
just find a vertical one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I mean, I told one client, I think she got it for like $6.99 at Office Depot. And, it's made a world of difference. She's like, oh, I can just work on my current projects and keep them there, and then just grab what I need and go from there. And so, especially with paperwork, because we just tend to pile it on and pile it on and pile it on.
So I'm curious, do you have digital organization systems as well, and thoughts about that?
Well, my favorite digital system to use is Evernote. Do you use Evernote?
I do use Evernote.
Yeah, that's the best. I found that to be an awesome resource to organize yourself digitally, because it's so great you can use it on so many different platforms. Mm-hmm. It syncs all together. You can organize it by need. You can search for it. And so I think that's a great digital resource I always recommend people to use. And it's got a very small learning curve. It's easy to figure out and to use. And so I always tell people to try that out.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's a great tip, to use Evernote for your digital information. That's super.
Yeah.
So we're just over 30 minutes, and we can talk as long as we want to, but is there anything that you would like to just make sure that people know, that if you were sitting down with me and you only had one shot to tell me something that would help me and help transform my mindset or my skill set, what would you share with me today?
That's a good question. I mean, I could spend a lot of time.
Okay. Go ahead.
But, the thing is, I have found you really have to want to change, or going from disorganized to organized, to having that orderly lifestyle is about change. It's about changing your habits, changing your mindset, changing your just way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And that's not always an easy thing to do. That's why everybody starts New Year's with, these resolutions or these hopes of changing. And then 3 weeks after we're, falling short. So, it's an ongoing process of change. It's not just how do I be organized, but how do I develop and change my habits and myself as a person to have the orderly life I want. And so that's really what I want to encourage people first to understand. Because people will be, like you said, I just can't get it done. It doesn't seem to happen for me. And that's because it's a change thing. So that's the first thing I would like to tell people. I guess the second thing I would like it's to tell people, because when they think about getting organized, the first thing they think of is, oh, what am I going to lose? What is she going to make me get rid of?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. That's the first question people will ask me. What are you going to make me lose? What do you make me get rid of? And, getting organized, I want to tell people it's not about what you're losing. It's about what you're gaining. And to keep it in that perspective, because yes, you may be losing a pair of shoes you'd had for 20 years, or yes, you may be losing, a sentimental thing from high school. But what you're gaining is peace, and you're gaining order, and you're gaining balance, and you're gaining time. And, so look at it from, Michael Hyatt loves to say, are you an abundant thinker or a scarcity thinker? And when it comes to being organized, you have to think about abundance and scarcity as well. And which frame of mind are you coming in from? If you're coming in from scarcity, I'm going to lose this, or I'm not going to be able to have it anymore, different things like that, then it's not going to work for you. But if you come in with the abundant mindset, I'm gaining my time, I'm gaining order, I'm gaining so many other things for my life. Yes, by possibly letting go of stuff, it changes everything for you.
Wow. I never would have thought that your messaging, that you would have to battle people feeling a sense of loss in working for you. So as a person who is out there working in the world to strengthen and help people, what an incredible thought process that you have to overcome, a message you have to overcome just in communicating that organization is a good thing. Wow. Yeah. Learn something else new.
Honestly, that is probably 90% of my battle when I work with people.
Wow.
It really is, because, there are books aplenty. There's information overload on how to do the organizing steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. And people will go pick those books up on January 2nd and they will start working through them. But unless they change their mindset and their thinking, it's all going to just go back down the tubes.
Wow. That is incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
See? Learn something new again.
We should be learning something new every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the people that I work with, because I'm part of the Public Speakers Association, and I work as a career speaker academy trainer. And one of the things that the founder of that says is that each year she wants to be unrecognizable than the woman she was at the beginning of the year, because she's learned so much and transformed and moved forward. So that's one of the things that I love thinking about, is the transformation. And I can see how being organized and having an organized mindset and intention and holding that as a spiritual and a sacred place, and as a way to develop and increase the power of your relationships, all of those things together, if you would just take one little step day by day or week by week, you would transform that area of your life entirely over the next 365 days. You could be entirely unrecognizable in the skills that you've developed just by putting it in your planner and having a strategy. And of course, the most important thing is to get connected with you, right, and to be getting your newsletter, and to making yourself aware and able to have their products whenever those come available. So, hey, we're so welcoming to Hire Atlanta. We're happy you're here. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because I have this rock. I don't remember where I got it from, but I was at some event and you had to write 2 words on there. And I don't remember exactly how I did, but the first word I wrote on there was inspiration.
Oh,
and then when you flip it on the other side, it's transformation. And so that's really what I want to do. I want to provide inspiration to people about organizing that leads to transformation in their lives. So so because it is literally transforming. And one of the things I've been thinking about too, I really must think our brains are on the same wavelength or something, because I was just thinking about myself, what can be accomplished in a year? What can you really accomplish if you put the time and the effort and the commitment to it? How could your life look differently in terms of your space, an organizational perspective, if you made that commitment to a year-long process of it? I would love to see, be able to track somebody and do that with them and see how that worked. That would be really cool.
Well, and I think that as a person who's sitting on the outside, it's like, okay, Leanna, that gives us a great project for you to create a transformation step by step in the next 365 days. So you could just be transformed, and you give us a daily tip. Today, take the stamps out of the place over there and put them with your envelope.
Yeah, it is. My brain's always thinking about things like that. There's just never enough time to get it all done.
Boy, And that is the truth about that. That is the truth about that.
Yeah.
So I want you to, Lana, if you will, just type in your website and how people can get in touch with
Sure.
you over in the message box. And then that'll become a living part of this blab when people are watching it on record. And that way they'll be able to, do you see it over there?
Yep, I do.
It
I'm
says
just checking to make sure I'm spelling right.
okay.
Because sometimes I type so fast, my fingers, my brain don't work at the same level.
I get that. I was typing out some things today. It's like, man, how come I can't get any H's in my words today?
Yeah, but that's my website. And then on there, like I said, you can connect to my blog. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, I have Pinterest boards, all that kind of good stuff, LinkedIn. And so you can connect, sign up for my newsletter. I just recently changed it from a monthly newsletter to a weekly newsletter because I felt like, people were, only getting it once a month. And I thought, if you really want to have, changes in your life, I need to be offering to you more information in smaller doses. So it's going to change from a monthly to a weekly. So you can sign up for that as well there.
Oh, that's terrific. And I think I'm on your list. I meant to sign up for your list. I think I'm getting I need to double check, but I know I went to your website. It's a beautiful website for one thing. And easy to connect with you on social media and get all of your information. So I'm looking forward to all of those tips. And like Danielle said, I'm going to, because I have daily tasks that I work on, and I am going to put that as a daily task. How can I bring a space of organization? I might not have 2 hours, but I have 10 minutes. So what can I use in 10 minutes to do something that would make life better?
And I always tell people, just set the timer for 10, 15 minutes. And you'd be astonished if you just opened a drawer, what you could get accomplished, whether it's a desk drawer, a bedroom drawer, or a kitchen drawer. You could bring order to that space really easily in 15 minutes, just by purging, putting like with like, maybe finding a few little containers for the small things so you won't have to look through the back. But yeah, absolutely. You can find.
Stay out of my kitchen. Stay out of my kitchen.
Trust me, I get a lot of that too.
No, it's just I just have this drawer, where I put different kinds of things, and it seems like all those little pieces just fly to the back, and I'm always digging around back there. So, golly, what a concept! Get a container and put all those things in.
Yeah, and you don't have to use, you can repurpose things. Like you can use cereal boxes and cut them to the level of your drawer and use them to hold things. You can use Tupperware bins. We've got tons of Tupperware that have no lids.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just use those that don't have a lid and don't serve a purpose and use them as containers in your drawers.
Wow.
So go to the dollar store. You'll always find quick and easy little things like that too. So I always tell people, think outside the box when it comes to being organized too.
I love that. Think outside the box while you're using a cereal box. I mean, that's a great blog title, Thinking Outside the Box, and how you can repurpose cereal boxes for your everything. So I love
exactly.
that. I'm going to watch for that in a newsletter, Lynn.
Okay.
Thinking outside the box.
I have a post on there. I may just go retitle it. So it'll get more views.
So is there anything that you would like to leave us with today as we kind of finish up?
I just want to let people know that, I believe in you, and I know that you can do this. If you will change the way you speak, if you will change the way you think, if you will believe in yourself and the abilities you have, and you can commit to the time to do it, then you can have an organized life. It really is. I'm not going to say it's simple, and I'm not going to say it's easy, because I don't want to devalue the efforts that you have to put into it. But it will get easier the more you do it. Just like, with writing, the more you write, the easier it gets. The more you exercise, the less pain you feel, the less soreness. And so it's the same way. You just have to, believe and say, I can be organized. I am an organized person, and I am going to value that in my life and give it the time that it deserves.
Oh, and that's so good. I am an organized person, and I can do this. And I was just reading, Brendan Burchard is one of my favorite people to read. His story is just incredible. And he was talking about the difference between optimists and pessimists, and that optimists just have that idea and that point of view that even if things are a wreck right now, they're not going to stay that way. And I
Mhm.
think your words being said there, I can do this. I am able to do this. I am an organized person. And just on a side note, a few years ago, it felt like my life was an overwhelm. And I realized that I was saying all the time, everything is so chaotic. I feel so overwhelmed. Life has so much chaos. I don't know how I'll ever get anything done. And whenever the Lord really just like shook me on that and I changed my thought process, everything
Mhm.
changed. And so it
Oh,
really does make a difference what you say and how you
absolutely.
approach that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, as a man thinks, so he is, right? It's in Proverbs.
absolutely,
So, I tell people as you
absolutely.
think about it, if you'll quit saying, I can never be organized, I don't have an organizing bone in my body, and just
Right.
start talking to yourself in a positive way, our thoughts become our actions, and our actions impact our lives. So,
Absolutely. And that is a perfect, perfect reminder for every aspect of our life, every aspect of our life. I'm going to share my website. Again, my name is Donna Woolham, and you can find me at donnawoolham.com. And I work with female entrepreneurs in all realms. Right now, I'm working with women to help them get a kickstart in the first part of their year to kind of get their calendar and strategies organized. So, Leanna, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. I've taken a lot of things away with me today, and I know it's going to make a big, big difference for me and for everyone who's listening. Thank you so much for your time today.
oh, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be a part of this and have been on here with you. And like I said, it's been such a pleasure to get to know you as well. The inspiration that just from the little time we've had together too.
It's a lot of fun. We can never have too many sisters, right?
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, thanks so much for everyone who joined us today.
Yes,
We
thank
are
you.
thrilled that you were with us. And this recording, of course, will live on Blab. I love it whenever they say, when was it recorded? And it was like 48 years ago or 49 years ago. Check that out. So, they live here forever, but actually on my website, they are recorded and placed there always. So, lots of different people and specialties, and this one will be one that I'm sure will be watched a lot, Leanna. So, thank you so much. Thank you.
No, I'm glad. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.